Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing a book review on The Secret Keeper by Kate Morton. Kate Morton's The Secret Keeper begins in 1961, following 16-year-old Laurel as she witnesses a shocking crime that challenges everything she thought she knew about her mother. 50 years later, Laurel's mother, Dorothy, is dying, and Laurel realizes this is her last chance to discover the truth about what happened 50 years ago. What follows is Laurel's journey into Dorothy's past, taking her all the way to World War II in London, and how the lives of Dorothy, a wealthy woman named Vivian, and a dashing photographer named Jimmy weave together in a story that keeps you guessing until the very end. Yeah guys, another book that I rated 5 stars this year. I'm just having a great year with 5-star books. You guys, I'm loving it. Let's start off. I initially had some complications with this novel. I started this novel initially going, meh, this is going to end up being a 3-star book. You know, it was kind of flowing that way. Like, it wasn't horrible that I was like, oh, it's a 1 or a 2-star book, but it was kind of average. You know, that's kind of how I see 3 stars, as average. So I was like, this is an average book, I'll give it 3 stars. And then I kind of reach the middle of the novel, and it's like, I think I'll give this 4 stars. And then by the time I get to the end of the novel, I was like, holy freaking God, this is a 5-star book. I love this. Now, why I had some complications early on in this book mostly just had to do with, at the beginning of the book, it is kind of slow and tedious, and the storyline is jumping all over the place because there's multiple points of view going on. There's different time eras, because you have the 60s and you have the 40s. Yeah, and then you kind of have like a modern day setting. So it's kind of a little all over the place initially, and I think when you start the novel, like I said, it's a little slow and tedious and kind of overwhelming because you're trying to wrap your head around all of the characters, all of the time eras and whatnot, and it's a lot to kind of grasp at the start of this novel. But then, yeah, I mean, once you do get a hang of the story and the characters and things start piecing together and making sense, this is a novel that is absolutely thrilling from start to finish, I think, and just a very engaging, captivating story, and yet all sorts of twists and turns and reveals that you're just like, wow, oh my God, I did not see that coming. And the thing is, I think you are meant to be confused at the start of this novel. Like I said, I was a little confused, I was a little kind of bored of how slow and tedious it was going, and yeah, the timelines just kind of jumping all over the place. And I think Kate Morton, she wanted you to be a little confused. You know, this is not a linear story where everything just makes sense from the start. You know, it's one of those books you gotta read it, you gotta keep going, and by the time you get to the end, just everything pieces together and makes sense, you know? So, of course, there are some characters and some plot lines that I think Kate Morton meant to be vague and confusing initially. And let me put it this way, I think this is the type of book that requires multiple readings, because even though you may get to the end and then you'll know the ending, so yeah, on reread you'll know the ending, definitely, but I think then that way, as you reread the book, you have that in the back of your head, and then yeah, things just start to make sense from there. And I think Kate Morton does a fantastic job with this narrative because it's a very intricate, complex narrative in some ways. There's so many little moving pieces, and in the hands of another author perhaps, especially like a new amateur author, an author could easily forget all of these little tiny plot points that they set up. But Kate Morton, she remembers every little detail, every loose end, every just random character, just everything comes together in a really great fashion. And I seriously loved everything about this novel. I loved each timeline. We have the stuff that takes place in 2011, which I enjoyed. There's a brief bit of stuff in the 60s, which I enjoyed. Yeah, the majority of this book does take place in the 40s in World War II, like London, England. That stuff was what I enjoyed the most. That was my favorite parts. But yeah, for the most part, I loved every timeline and how every timeline somehow connected. And just to talk about some of the characters really quickly, I really love the characters. Not a dull character in the bunch. I think every character brought something to the story. Every character had their own unique traits and unique backstory and whatnot. Yeah, we have Laurel, who you initially start the novel with. She's kind of like a teenager at the start of the novel, but then yeah, when you do get to like the 2011 timeline, you know, she's a much older woman by then. But yeah, she's who you start with. She is the reader, essentially. She kind of represents the reader. She represents what you are thinking in some ways. And she's the character who's trying to unravel this greater mystery. You know, I hate calling it the mystery, but I don't want to tell it to you, because if I tell you what the mystery is, it kind of ruins the surprise of this novel, you know? But yeah, Laurel is trying to uncover this mystery involving her mother, and she just has all sorts of questions, and she feels like she doesn't know who her mother is anymore. Then there's the character of Dorothy, or Dolly as she's called in this novel. Yeah, Dolly is in the 1940s timeline. She's young, naive, hopeful. She thinks of herself better than what she really is, because she kind of comes from not necessarily poverty, but she is kind of on the lower scale of middle class, I suppose. And yeah, she dreams of so much more for herself. Her big flaw is that she's kind of a creative liar, a pathological liar in some ways. That gets her into a lot of trouble through this narrative. And yeah, she has this obsession with this wealthy woman named Vivian. That gets her in some serious trouble. And then there's Vivian, who's the third character in this story, the wealthy woman that Dolly is obsessed with. Vivian has her own tragic backstory and traumas, personal traumas. And yeah, to Dolly, Vivian represents everything that Dolly aspires to be, that she wants to be. And then the last character we have is Jimmy, who is a wartime photographer, and he's Dolly's boyfriend. And yeah, he finds himself really torn throughout the narrative between both women, between Dolly and Vivian, and yeah, his loyalties are constantly tested. It is sort of a love triangle, but not really, because he loves Dolly, but he has more of a friendship with Vivian, but he does feel like he has more in common with her, I suppose. So yeah, a sort of love triangle. So yeah, that's kind of what the bulk of this novel is about. It does mostly follow the characters of Dolly, Vivian, and Jimmy, their friendship, how they come together, and yeah, their personal demons and traumas. And yeah, here is the war around them in wartime London, which just adds a lot of stress to the situation. So what you have with this novel, the major themes are definitely love and life and death and betrayal and jealousy and obsession, lots of lying going on. And this whole notion of when you find love, you need to grab it, because you never know when the opportunity is going to be taken away from you, especially since the war is going on around them. And yeah, kind of the whole idea as well that you never know when you might die. You know, a bomb may drop on your house one day and you may die. So there's kind of that whole theme as well, you know, love and grabbing that opportunity when it comes out to you. So overall, you guys, I freaking loved this novel. Like I said, I had some initial complications because it does start off a little confusing and overwhelming and a bit slow and tedious, but it really builds, and I think you just got to take your time with it, because I think it's just one of those novels, it's a slow burn, but once you do get to the middle and once you get to the ending, I think it's very satisfactory, and just all of these pieces come together, the greater mystery comes together, and I just loved it from start to finish. Very captivating and engaging. I want to reread it again quite desperately. And I think Kate Morton does a fantastic job with the historical detail, especially in wartime London during the Blitz, because you really feel like you're there in that time, because it is really raw and gritty during those scenes and very terrifying. You feel that terror, you know, that a bomb could just come falling down on you at any minute, you know, you never know. She captures that terror very brilliantly, I think. So yeah, I definitely recommend this book if you enjoy historical mysteries, especially kind of jumping around in, you know, several different timelines and whatnot. And it's just one of those books, as you read, it gets better and better and better. So you guys, that's it for this review. In the comments below, have you guys read The Secret Keeper? Do you plan on reading it? Just let me know your thoughts down below. And yeah, Kate Morton has wrote a lot of other books similar to this. So if you have read some Kate Morton, what's the next Kate Morton book I should pick up? Because I would love to read some more. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye guys.